What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the Staples Show. It is Wednesday night, a few minutes behind here. We're going to go at 8, then we went to 7. Now we're at 7:15. We had a lot to talk about. It was a busy day at One Bills Drive. We heard from Amari Cooper, Josh Allen, Brandon Beane, and Sean McDermott. We'll get into all of that tonight on Shout, a Buffalo Bills football podcast brought to you by Tops Friendly Markets. And right now it's tricks, treats, and tailgating. You can get your candy fix. You can get set up for game day. They got everything going. Large cheese and one topping pizza and 20 jumbo wings for $30. They got the Utz 18 count variety snack pack, Ryan Talbot, for $8.99. The bakery fresh novelty cakes. You can get a little football, kind of like Ace Ventura style, $13.99. You got the DiGiorno $7.99 a pop. $79.99. That would be crazy.
It's not delivery. It's
they got a little. There it is. They got a little bit of everything over at Tops. How are you, buddy?
I am doing well. Yeah, maybe a little trunk or treating, tailgating on Sunday, since I think this is the last home game before Halloween. So head over to Tops, get your goodies, get ready for the big game on Sunday at 1 p.m.
Look at you. You're locked and loaded. You are game day ready. We have so much to get into. Before we get into everything going on, Cooper trade, Brandon Beane, some stuff to get into. Let's start with the injury report because I see a lot of apprehension or anxiety, I should say, in the comments about Dalton Kincaid. He's listed on there with a collarbone. Sean McDermott has not been didn't sound super concerned about it when he talked about everybody going through practice today. He did seem like he was kind of getting up a little bit funny on one of the plays against the Jets. I wonder how much it is just general soreness. I saw him walking off the walkthrough practice field today with Dawson Knox. Looked okay. Didn't seem like he was getting any treatment, but we'll get a first good look at him tomorrow. So we'll obviously check back in on Saturday. We'll have the live preview show at Wingnuts. Get more into that in a little bit. But I think it's more of just listing him. It's something he's dealing with. I wouldn't overreact at this stage.
No, not at all. Nothing to overreact to just yet. Obviously, wait and see, monitor how this goes throughout the week. Like you said, if Sean McDermott's not acting overly concerned, that's usually for good reason. He's pretty straightforward with injuries in terms of using the terms day-to-day, week-to-week, if it's something that he is worried about. So, like you said, don't overreact just yet. Just kind of see how this plays out throughout the week.
I think from a Bills fan perspective, you got to look at this injury report today and say, no DNPs. Sounds good to me, because it has been a couple weeks here where we've been talking about lingering issues. Ed Oliver, James Cook, Khalil Shakir a couple weeks ago. Sean McDermott said yesterday that he's hopeful that both Cook and Oliver can make it through the week practice-wise, be okay to go on Sunday. And that'll be huge against, I know this isn't a Tennessee Titans team that's got anybody running scared. I haven't really dove completely in because we have the late preview show on Saturday. I want to watch a little bit of them over the next couple of days. But it hasn't been a great start. Will Levis has been really bad. And, it's one of those games where you got to be careful. You can't overlook this thing. But if you get healthy, if you get a couple of guys back, I think that puts you in a really good spot. Joshua Richardson says that he's an insider here watching a Shout Insider. Thank you for that, Joshua. And welcome into the live show.
Yeah, always great to see the insiders here in the live chat. See a few of them already here tonight. Great to see so many of you here. In terms of, the Titans, you're right. This game on paper probably doesn't strike much fear in the heart of Bills fans. It was so bad at quarterback earlier this year with Will Levis that there was legitimate talk about, should the Titans stick with Mason Rudolph if they can win games with him? And if you're having a conversation about Mason Rudolph potentially starting for your team in 2024, that tells me everything you need to know about the quarterback play on that team. Now, they have some talent on defense. They have some playmakers still on that offense. Nothing is a given in this league. I don't expect the Bills to come into this game and think that they can just kind of walk all over this team, but definitely on paper, a game that certainly favors the Bills.
Pops Mafia asking who didn't practice today. Nobody didn't practice today. And by the way, shout out to insiders, Therese. We got Mark Bouchard, Boom Boom, Mr. Boom Boom Shrimp in the comments here. Dude, I'll never forget that day at New York Beer Project when Boom Boom put down 2 orders of the shrimp, man. I was like, you are an absolute savage, my friend. And then we got Scott Moranto, also an insider, asking if it's a little late for the coffee. Aren't you supposed to be at happy hour, buddy? All right. Like, if you're watching the Shout Pod from happy hour, you are. I know it's not technically a happy hour, but I know that he was meeting a couple friends tonight. So, we got a bunch of people going on, insiders in the comments right now. I love it.
Yeah, Jay Schroeder too on Facebook. Welcome everyone. Glad you can be here live. Those that aren't live, obviously you can replay this on YouTube and you can listen to it at your own convenience on your favorite podcast platform.
All right, so Amari Cooper trade. We got to hear from everybody today. We're going to get into Brandon Beane. He talked about the logic that went into it, kind of brought us into the inside story of how this transpired. And this is something that he was really tracking from the beginning of the season. I think most people knew going into the year the Browns weren't going to be very good. He has been in on the Davante Adams sweepstakes. And like we talked about, it always precluded the Bills if the Raiders weren't going to pay down a lot of that money. Right. And so, he's tracking the Davante Adams. It looks like he's going to New York on Monday from what he was hearing. But they had been working on Amari Cooper, Ryan, since Sunday. He'd been in contact with the Browns for a couple weeks. He said that they were kind of checking in to seeing how the season went on because, listen, the Browns strung a few wins together. That changes the dynamic of the conversation. So now you get down the road a little bit. You're sitting there at 1-5 after Sunday. Beane checks in. They say, all right, what are you willing to offer? A 3rd-round pick for a guy that you reworked the deal already. The money is on your books no matter what you do with him. He's not going to be on the roster next year. Flip him for a pick now. They land on the compensation Tuesday morning. Amari Cooper becomes a Bill.
And I don't want to say I've seen people complaining, especially not anyone here in the chat, but I've seen some people on social media. Why would the Bills go up a 3rd rounder for a guy that's a free agent? A few years ago, the Browns were able to get him for a 5th. Contracts matter. When the Cowboys were getting rid of him, when the Browns traded for him, there's a lot of money on the book still. And if you're acquiring a player with that much money, you usually don't have to give up as much to get a player of that caliber. So now you're talking about a guy that could be potentially a 1-year rental, but it gives the Bills a 10-week or so window. Playoffs obviously could extend that to see what he can do in this offense, see how he fits. You can then try to re-sign him in the offseason where the Bills are in a better spot financially going into 2025. But then, as Brandon Beane noted today, if he were to leave in free agency, sign somewhere else, he could get a compensatory pick. And because he is a veteran with 10 years of experience, the highest they could get for him is a 5th rounder. But that's still better than nothing. So this is a low risk trade, no risk trade, to be quite honest. The Bills still are projected to have about 10 picks in the draft, and they greatly upgraded their wide receiver room.
So we got the down low on how the Cooper deal materialized. We also got a Brandon Beane coming out on the Pat McAfee show and then doubling down with the local media when he spoke with reporters. This might not be it for the Bills adding. Like he mentioned that, I think that there was always this like divide between parts of the fan base when he talked about this being a transition year and not being all in, like confusing those two comments, right? Like, or those two ideas. Like, how can you be all in if you're in a transition year and you're moving on from all of these different players that were staples of your franchise? Well, we've already seen guys like Jordan Poyer, guys like Tre'Davious White, guys like Gabe Davis that have gone on elsewhere and aren't having the same kind of success that they had here in earlier years. Sometimes you got to move off of players that are maybe declining. And I don't think Gabe necessarily falls into that. He is who he is. I think we know who he is. Stephon Diggs has had a good run. I think he's surrounded by a lot of talent in Houston. But we knew that was something that they were passionate about moving on from. So there's that part of it. The part I think that people have to realize is that Beane saying that he's been all in is it was always going to be get to August, get to September. The roster is never completed. Like he's always says, they're working on their roster all the way up until the trade deadline when you can make moves. And even after, Micah Hyde maybe in November or December, if safety continues to be an issue. We'll get into safety talk in a minute, but I don't think that people should take him having that collection of 5 wide receivers on August 25th or whatever the date was as the finished product, this was always something that he was going to monitor. And it doesn't change the fact that while it might be a transition and then like old players out, new players in, he was still going to try to upgrade the roster, was what I kind of got a sense of.
Yeah, transition years do not mean rebuild. Reset is another word that I've seen out there on social media. It just means you're moving on from several pieces that have been key players over the years, like Poyer, like Hyde, like Gabe Davis, and that list goes on. But they weren't just going to not address that position or positions, plural. They went out and they added a Cole Bishop second round of the draft. I know he hasn't played much yet. They re-sign Taylor Rapp at the safety position. They go out and they draft Keon Coleman in the second round, and now they acquire an Amari Cooper. And, as long as the Bills have Josh Allen, they're going to try to go all in. And some years will be harder than others because of the salary cap, because of financial constraints, as you always try to keep your own guys and extend them, and the money kind of builds and adds up. But you look at the landscape of the AFC, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. I've mentioned it many times. It's wide open. The Ravens look great, but we know what they do come playoff time. The Chiefs have a great record, but they're missing multiple weapons. There is an opportunity for this year to be a deep run for the Bills, and to go out and get a player of Cooper's caliber, a 5-time Pro Bowler at wide receiver. It just made too much sense, and it really should help them with some of the weaknesses that the passing attack has had in man defense, especially with the way that Amari Cooper plays.
So we're coming up here on 1,000 live viewers across all 3 platforms. Thank you so much for watching on this Wednesday night. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. And as a few of our viewers have already mentioned in the comment sections, sign up to become a Shout Buffalo Bills insider right now. All you have to do is text 716-528-6727 or go to joinsubtext.com/shoutbuffalobills. You get a 2-week free trial. It's $3.99 a month after that. You get access to Ryan Talbot, Matt Parrino, 24/7, 365. Talbot was absolutely on fire today in the insider text line. We had about 150 outdated text messages. He went through all of them and was responding left and right to everybody. And listen, we got close to 500 insiders now. So sometimes some things fall through the cracks. And like we always tell people, keep hitting us back up, get it back to the top of the inbox. And we like to interact with folks on there. It's a great way to connect us with our fans. And Ryan, you were getting after it today, buddy.
Definitely getting after it. And you're right. I mean, it got a little backlogged there, but you look at it, Bills play Monday night. We finished that. We go on to the pod. So there were a lot of messages from that game. Fast forward to Tuesday, they make the trade for Amari Cooper, and then you and I are just in Amari Cooper mode, podcasting, article writing. But glad to kind of respond to everyone, get back to everyone. Funniest comment, I can't remember the person that the insider, but they said we should have an insider game where you take a shot every time the Bills run the ball in first down. And he wrote that on Monday night around 8 o'clock, right before the game started. And I wrote back, I said, hey, I just sobered up from the game, just getting back in, joking around, obviously joking around, I promise. But it's great interacting with the insiders.
Joking around. I think Talbot found some vodka bottle coupons over on Tops and was just getting after it this week. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong at all. And nothing wrong with saying, like I said, Mark, it's definitely a staple of my vocabulary, and you'll probably hear it a few more times tonight in the next few pods.
The Shout text line is brought to you by Carrie C. Byer, attorney with the law offices of Francis M. Litro, located at 237 Main Street in Buffalo, New York. If you or someone you know is seriously injured, give him a call, 716-852-1234, or check out litrolaw.com. All right, let's get to Beane's comments about where the Bills roster is at right now. Mm-hmm. And, he kind of came out today and said he might not be done, like that. He's going to keep his ears open. He is going to keep checking in with teams. He said there was a conversation he had with a general manager or a team. I don't know if it was a general manager or somebody from another team who told him there was 3 players that, might be available depending on how the next week or two goes. And you can kind of start to piece some things together, some teams that are kind of going through it. Like I'm thinking about a team like the Arizona Cardinals sitting there at 2-4, maybe looking to add future draft capital. I'm also looking at like the Jacksonville Jaguars, who might be in sell mode here in the next couple of weeks. How about an Andre Cisco, Syracuse product, maybe as a potential trade candidate? Now, this is a guy that is probably going to need a new deal, but maybe you say, hey, join a good Bills defense, get yourself in a position. Same kind of thing with Amari Cooper. It's an affordable contract that you can onboard. I like that kind of deal. I know a lot of Bills fans like are pounding the table for Budda Baker, and that's one of the first comments in the thing here.
Right.
Here's the thing, Ryan. Here's the thing, Ryan. It's doable if Arizona wants to eat the number because he's in the last year of his deal. Maybe Budda wants to get out of there. Maybe they lose a game or two here. And I think his cap hit this year is somewhere around 15 million. They got 21 million in cap space. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they could pay that down, get him out of there and add a third or a fourth or a fifth, whatever it ends up being. I think you might be able to get Baker for like a fifth. He's in the last year of his deal. He's going to walk anyway, maybe put a couple teams against each other. But it's a situation where you look at a couple of these teams, Ryan, there might be some options to add some players. And it feels like safety is where a lot of Bills fans want the Bills to add.
Yeah, and I'll throw another team in the mix, Tennessee Titans, a team that you're going to see on Sunday at Highmark Stadium. There's no doubt in my mind that Brandon Beane's not just going to watch this game from the, wanting to see the Bills win perspective. He's going to be evaluating some of the talent out there. That's another one-win team. That's another team that might have some talent where you say, okay, maybe we can go out and get a defensive lineman. And, you look at their roster, there's no big names there necessarily, minus a Jeffrey Simmons, who you would not part ways with if you're the Tennessee Titans, obviously. That is a special player at D tackle, but Aquandre Diggs at safety, and Amani Hooker, at safety. They have some guys there.
Put the vodka down, bro.
I thought it said Amari at first. I'm like, no, Amani. So they have some guys at that position too. If the Bills are looking at safety, I think Taylor Rapp showed exactly why the Bills re-signed him. I went back and rewatched that game, Matt. I think he saved 21 points in that game. And I can't remember if they happened on the same drive, I think
two of the plays happened on the same drive, but even if it's 14.
Right. But for early in the game, they're down in Buffalo's end. He gets his hand up on a Aaron Rodgers pass where there's a tight end right behind him that's open. He bats it up in the air, almost kind of comes up with it. He's trying to track it. So he saves a touchdown on that drive. We obviously know about the tackle on Breece Hall. We know about the breakup in the end zone on Garrett Wilson, and obviously the Jeremy Ruckert breakup on late in the game that helped set up the interception by Taron Johnson, I believe the next play after that. So he made so many huge plays. You feel good about him. DeMar Hamlin was the second highest grade defensive player from Pro Football Focus. I know everyone has their own opinions on that, but the Bills could look for a veteran presence there, considering that Cole Bishop's been slow played. They haven't really been wanting to see Mike Edwards out on the field for whatever rhyme or reason. So that's another kind of team and position to maybe keep an eye on.
Got a couple super chats here. Let's go to Mark Bouchard, Mr. Boom Boom himself. Any chance him and his wife will be out at Wingnuts on Saturday, which is a great segue, Mark. Thank you so much. We got to get everybody out to Wingnuts on Saturday night, Ryan. It is. I was waiting for us to fill up on all the platforms to get this shout out in. Details in the description on YouTube and over on the audio side. If you're in town for the game this weekend, if you are a local Western New Yorker, Saturday night, 5:30, be at Wingnuts. I know that's a little earlier than usual, but we're filming like a hype video, like a commercial. We're filming some marketing material at this live show. So if you want to be in all of this, the pictures with me and Ryan and the videos and everything like that, come out. We want to just absolutely pack Wingnuts to the tables, to the windows, to the walls, all the way across that thing, man. We want to be in there and get after
keep
it.
Going on with the lyrics.
I'm not. I stopped right before. Listen, we got to keep it PG. This isn't Saturday late night. This isn't Sunday after a game. Like, let's keep this thing PG. So 1402 Millersport Highway, 5:30. We'll be hanging out until the show at 7. We'll do a quick preview podcast. We'll bring a couple fans onto the show too. We'll have some fun. And you're going to be eating elite chicken wings and having delicious drinks. What better way can you spend Saturday night before the game?
I don't think there is a better way to spend the game other than being at Wingnuts. But for Mark's question, would any chance Brady will use Ray Davis more? I think that on Sunday specifically, I wouldn't be shocked if Davis outsnapped James Cook. Cook might be
Ooh,
healthy
hot
enough to
takes.
Well, I think Cook might be healthy enough to play, but you still want to ease him back in with this toe injury. So probably, I'm not going to say it's exactly similar to what we saw at Khalil Shakir on Monday night, where he was very limited in his reps. But why not give Ray Davis 2 series to every 1 series for James Cook? Let him work his way back, and then as long as Ray Davis continues to perform the way that he did on Monday night, then you might have to get closer to a 50-50 timeshare, keeping one another fresh. And it's not the worst thing. I will say, though, the Bills O-line, kudos to them. They were opening up huge lanes against this Jets defensive line that is very good on paper. But they were clearing guys out, and there were some pretty wide lanes for Davis and company to run through.
I thought it was interesting that Brady made it a point the other day to say that, James Cook is the guy in this offense. And, it was nice to see the opportunities taken advantage for Davis. But, I continue to say, I agree with you, like on a short week. I know Cook didn't play. He's trending in a good direction, but why not use Davis more? Let him, especially if you get up early in this game and you can kind of continue to lean on him, build that confidence in a rookie. And that would be a departure from years past with Sean McDermott. Like sometimes it takes a lot to get a rookie, a chance, a sustained opportunity. And I think that would be a good spot to be in, and let Cook's injury heal 100%. I mean, if he wasn't good enough to play, like why rush him back if you had such a good performance for Ray Davis? So I don't have a problem with that. Super chat from David Trelizio, fly MP on X in his suit and tennis shoes in New York City. Yeah, I took my lady to a Broadway play, was suited up for the Buffalo Kickoff Live, and then we hit the town in New York City. It was a fun time. We got another super chat. Brian Auman, another one of our insiders. Hear me out. ... D-Hop. So I think that what he's implying is that the Bills should now trade for DeAndre Hopkins.
Not Dustin Hopkins, the kicker? No, I'm just kidding. Although I bet some fans wouldn't mind if it was Dustin Hopkins, the kicker. DeAndre Hopkins, the salary would play a part of that. He at least did have that one Instagram post with Buffalo Soldier that I'm sure he could recycle and use if the Bills were truly interested. I don't think they're going to go back to the wide receiver well. I think it's more realistically to be on the defensive side of the ball. D-line would be my first selection if the Bills were to be looking for a specific area. D tackle graded out very poorly overall in that Jets game. And again, PFF is not the only metric out there, but that Zion Logue had an atrocious 27.1 overall grade. Dwayne Carter really struggled in that matchup according to their metrics. So some depth there wouldn't hurt, and they don't have a difference maker off the edge. It's nice when you get the contributions from AJ Epinesa, when Greg Rousseau pops, when Von Miller comes back. He was playing at a good level, a high level in those first 3 games, but they don't have anyone necessarily that you can count on week in, week out to apply pressure at least and get the hits and the hurries, where I don't know how many of those guys will be available come the trade deadline, but I'm sure that the Bills and Brandon Beane are looking.
I was reading.
Oh,
I was reading. Right. What do you got? We got water there?
Water. I was told I was told to go away from the frescas recently.
Yes, you were. It was a clear liquid, so I was just double checking. It's been a long week. Anyway, all right. So we heard from Josh Allen and Amari Cooper today. Let's get into that for a minute. And expectations. Sean McDermott said that, and I know a lot of Bills fans have been a little frustrated with Sean McDermott talking about this trade the last couple of days. It's like you almost get the kind of feeling like, all right, was McDermott really on board with this thing the way that he's talking about it? Like, you have your introductory press conference after the Cooper trade. I know he was scheduled to speak anyway, and one of the first things that he says about the deal is like, sometimes you add players and, we got to work them into the system, and sometimes you add players and it doesn't go well. And, wait, why are you even speaking that into existence? I think a lot of Bills fans were just like, what? Like, what's happening here? You just got Amari Cooper, this great receiver. But like, I think if you want to do a deep dive in it and try to guess where this might be coming from, it's like they just got out of a bad relationship. I think some people would argue it was a toxic relationship with Stefon Diggs. And I think to empower, even though Amari Cooper, based on everything that I've heard from people that have covered him, everything I've read about him, like this is like a no nonsense, super quiet, like keeps to himself kind of guy, like the antithesis of what a Stefon Diggs would be. I think that if you're Sean McDermott, you're maybe trying to control that situation. And by the way, not make it seem like to the four guys that still remain on the roster at receiver, like this was an indictment on you as to why the Bills need to go out and make this trade. I get all of that, but I guess maybe there could have been a way for McDermott to toe that line a little bit better between being excited about adding that skill set. And also, like he said something interesting, like about, we got to see how this skill set, works in our scheme. Well, I think it's pretty simple to explain how it works in your scheme. I think it's the reason you went out and traded for him. And then hearing, Brandon talk about him as well. And then Josh kind of tripled down on it. Like, this is a guy that gets separation. This is a guy that is an elite route runner. And those are the kind of things that make you a quarterback's best friend.
Yeah, 2.8 yards of separation this year, highest total, I believe, since 2018. Hat tip to Chris Trapasso for that one I saw on social media. So he is creating the separation. He's a guy that's known for beating man, which has been a struggle for Josh Allen in the past at times. And even when they're going against zone defenses, the route running is elite. He can get open. He can find ways to get open early, which when we saw Josh Allen getting the ball out quickly and being efficient with the ball, I could see how Cooper could fit in there. So I get where you're coming from. You do have to walk a fine line. He could have been. I understand how you don't want to be overly giddy about, oh yeah, we brought in this 5-time, Pro Bowl player to fix the wide receiver room. You don't say something like that, but you're right. You can probably say something along the lines of, we think that he can be benefit this wide receiver room and our offense greatly, while we still believe in the other guys on this roster to do the same. There's a way to do it. You're right. It was kind of like asking for a gift on Christmas, getting it, and then playing it like you didn't want it whatsoever. I'm sure he wanted some upgrades on this roster, including at wide receiver. He gets it, and maybe didn't come across as being overly excited.
In terms of what he's going to be in this offense, I think that's another interesting conversation that's worth having. You have Keon Coleman, who's primarily played the X. Cooper played the X role in Cleveland, but probably could play that flanker Z kind of opposite the X in an offense. He's been in the league so long. He's played with so many different flavors of wide receivers. I feel like you could probably do anything with him. And that's another thing. It's like, Brandon Beane said, he's football smart. We move our guys around. Shakir plays mostly inside, but he's smart and can play outside. Curtis Samuel, all those guys. So it's really just add this to Joe's pieces and Joe Brady, and let him and Josh and the coaches figure out like where he's going to be. Do you think that you think the Bills will budge on the Keon Coleman boundary specific role, or do you think that they maybe let him play a little bit inside?
I would like to think they would kick him inside every now and then. It doesn't have to be the prominent role, the role that the majority of snaps come at, but he's a guy that can win on the inside. There were a lot of draft analysts that said big slot was his best position in this league. So why not throw him in there from time to time? Let him create those mismatches with his size and physicality. He can win down the sideline too, but they're all closely contested passes, which, oddly enough is another one of the areas where Amari Cooper is really good. So I'm sure he will help Keon Coleman become even better in that regard. So there's a lot of things to like about this trade, but in terms of Coleman himself, I don't know why you wouldn't move him to the inside from time to time, especially if you're giving Khalil Shakir a breather. If you just want to try a different look from time to time, give the defense a look that they're not necessarily expecting every now and then. It makes too much sense to me, Matt.
I think it's interesting to hear Cooper talk about today the difference between the Dallas trade in 2018. He was actually going into a bye week, the Cowboys were. So he had almost 2 weeks to prepare for his debut, as opposed to this situation where he drives from Cleveland to Buffalo on Tuesday, walk through practice on Wednesday. His only real padded practice is going to be Thursday. You have the light practice, Fast Friday. a day off, and then you play at 1 o'clock against the Titans on Sunday. So this is a situation where I think that he's going to play on Sunday. I think that he's going to have a role on Sunday. He's an experienced guy. He's got familiarity with Adam Henry, which is huge. But Brandon Beane talked about it today. This is one of the hardest positions to trade for in season and get up to speed fast enough to really get going early. And so I think that's another part of this trade that maybe we didn't talk enough about yesterday. And you can give your thoughts on this. It's probably better that they made this move earlier than waiting to the actual deadline to give him as much kind of runway to figure this thing out.
Yeah, getting him in here sooner rather than later will have him, have a better grasp of the playbook within the next few weeks rather than maybe late in the season where who knows what the Bills' record will be at that time. They might clinch this division earlier than ever with the way the rest of the division's playing. But yeah, bringing him in early is a great thing because he will get more and more comfortable with each week that passes by in this offense. In terms of playing on Sunday, he does not have to play 75, 80% of the snaps, but you can put him out there on the field, Matt, and say, here's the route you're running. Make it as simple as can be for him. And he's a very smart receiver. He's been able to adapt no matter where he's played. He's been a great player wherever he has been. So I'm sure you can get him out there for a limited number of snaps at minimum on Sunday. Again, this chat is active tonight. Thanks again to all of our insiders. Thanks to Michelle. Mark was asking for a little shout out there. Michelle's always at those live shows with Mark. Shout out to you as well.
I love when you're active in the chat there, Ryan. Bring a little bit of it
keeping
into
an
the
eye
show.
on
That's
it.
great. You're a multitasker. You're an elite level multitasker, indeed. All right. So I asked Sean McDermott if he could confirm today that the Bills brought in 2 kickers this week. One dude's name is his last name's Mevis, I believe, and his nickname is Thicker Kicker. Thicker the Kicker. There you go. He's one of them. McNulty. He goes by 2 names. I don't think he always went by 2 names. Like he used to.
He was just McNulty at UB.
Yeah.
So
they confirmed the 2 workouts, which was reported by your cousin Damon. So shout out to him. And this was his full quote. And I followed that up by why. And he said, they worked him out this afternoon. T-Bass would be the first to tell you, Tyler Bass, it hasn't gone the way he would like it. And quite frankly, the way that we would have liked it. But the great thing about Tyler is we've had conversations with him. He's very aware. He knows we're working out people and he understands it's a production business. And so we have to make decisions what's best for the team. We want nothing more than Tyler to be our guy. We signed him. He felt it's a production business and he knows he's got to make those kicks. I think Sean said that no one's hiding from it. And so at the same time, he hasn't done as well as he or we had hoped. We've got to continue to look and monitor. And if there's a better option that we have to turn to, then we'll do that. So, I mean, that's about as direct a quote as you can get on the topic. And, I think Tyler Bass is officially on notice. I don't expect necessarily it to materialize this week. Maybe if they love one of these kickers, he lands on the practice squad. But, man, another big-time miss in the next couple of weeks. And I think we could see a changement.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't do the one eye black anymore, does he?
He doesn't. Maybe he's got to bring
when he had
back.
that swagger. He needs to bring that back, Matt. But my cousin Damon also reported a few other kickers were brought in as well. Tristan Vizcaino. Sounds like a great baseball name, by the way. Lucas Haversack. Harrison Mavis, who again was the Thicker the Kicker or the Thicker Kicker, whatever he went by. It's a great nickname. And the UB kicker who goes by McNulty Romaguera.
Yeah.
There it is.
Any other thoughts on Bass or?
I think that you pretty much said it, Matt.
Okay. Thank you.
He's missed some big kicks.
I like that. When you have nothing to add, that means I nailed the segment.
You nailed it
right along.
I will say this. I have not been the biggest Tyler Bass defender. When you go back and you watch that game on Monday night, though, the wind was wreaking havoc on both kickers. There was an extra point that it looked like Zerline missed on the TV broadcast. I think it was going right over the upright when it crossed through, hence why they called it good. He had 2 misses, though. Zerline, that is. Obviously, Bass, the 1 extra point. Originally, they ruled it a block, and then they ended up getting taking it back to just a miss because it looked like it was going to go far to the left anyways. And then when you look at the 47-yarder, it was close until the end. But he's got to be better. There's no denying that. And I think that the Bills could add one of those players to their practice squad. It wouldn't surprise me if they bring in another kicker or two this week. I believe the Jets worked out a few kickers today, and they were interested in working out one of them as well. And I'm just sitting here as Parrino's smiling on the other camera off screen.
I'm like, is he going to keep going? If he wraps this, what's he going to do?
I'm just going to keep talking kickers.
I love it. Dude, nobody talks kickers like Talbot. All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to come back on Saturday. It is going to be 1402 Millersport Highway. Shout Live. We're filming marketing materials, some commercials. And oh, by the way, Ryan, do we drop a little teaser for what's coming 100%. Up in November? It's coming
100%.
Up. I think we're going back to an old stomping ground.
Looking forward to it. Really excited. I don't know how much we can say though, so I'm going to kind of let you do the teaser here. That way, if too much is revealed, it's Parrino's fault. Go ahead.
So I heard a little birdie told me the deal is done. Shout Podcast is coming back to Turning Stone Resort Casino in Verona, New York, outside of Syracuse in November. Date to come, but get yourself excited. Get yourself ready. It is this Saturday night before the Bills host the 49ers. So plenty of time. Even if you're in Western Europe, if you're in Buffalo, Rochester, and you want to drive up to Turning Stone Resort Casino for the night, watch Shout on the Saturday, hang out with us. Then you can get back in plenty of time for the night game the next day. We are so excited about this one. We were going to blow it up. We had a blast going to Turning Stone last time, and we're going to do it again. We can't wait.
Yeah, holiday season last time. They had these really cool like gingerbread houses up and out. They have all these different lounges and areas to go to. It is quite the experience at Turning Stone.
But you don't have to wait that long to see us. You can come out on Saturday night. Wingnuts, 1402 Millersport Highway. We can't wait. We're going to be getting after it at Wingnuts. We got a lot to talk about with this game coming up. Amari Cooper's first one. How does he match up against L'Jarius Sneed and company, who, by the way, Sneed's not having a great season. So that's a kind of an interesting development. All right, for Ryan Talbot, I'm Matt Parrino. We'll see you on Saturday. We hope you all come out. Take care, everybody.